Well, hello everyone. Today Caya couldn't join me for the episode, so you're just gonna hear me talk about things. Psych! Actually, here she is, and these are my real hands. So, hello everyone, once again. Today Kaya has a tangerine and I have noodles because we don't believe in equality. It's overrated.
I'm in a chair. Noah's on the floor.
Yeah. So actually, maybe we fix that.
What do you mean?
No, like I have.
Oh, you think your noodles are superior?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is quite intense. The frog face. Wow.
You look like one of those, like a Shrek
Like
character.
hunky dudes from movies.
Yeah, like Thanos. Is his name
Yeah.
Thanos?
Yeah. Nice.
Anyways.
Anyways.
Wait, let's move this down a bit, shall we?
Amazing.
Alrighty dotty. So this week, Kaya finally came up with a podcast episode idea. And we're gonna
Kaya and ChatGPT.
That is true. I forgot about that. Wow, I completely just blocked that from my memory. I was like, no, it was me. Yeah, Kaya and ChatGPT came up with a podcast idea. And the idea was to talk about friendships and how our current friendships, like what we currently get out of our friendships and what we like appreciate about our friendships and how they used to be like when we were little and how that changed, if we had agency in that change or if it just overcame us, and about the future. What
Beautiful.
we want our adult friendships to be like when we no longer have that structure where obviously you're going to be making friends. And how we want to have friends when we're about to die. That got dark.
Yeah, real.
I was
real
also
fast.
thinking how you would cope with your friends dying, but that's maybe some other time. On this, you sound like you think it's spicy.
I think it's spicy,
Okay.
but we shall see.
Okay.
Great episode idea. I am proud of you.
Thank you.
I am exhilarated.
Do you want to start us off?
Sure. So maybe a cool first prompt would be like just something that we really loved about our friendships as like younger children, maybe when we were like more like in elementary school or something like that. What maybe defined them and like what we liked about them. If you want to share.
I had not so great friendships in elementary school. They were either toxic or, you would think elementary school children cannot have toxic relationships. Well, you're wrong.
Do tell.
I mean, it was the peak was when this girl's cousin joined our class. And I don't know what it was about her, but she was probably so insecure, she just made everyone else insecure instead. But we were like 9 by this time. And it completely sent me off the rails. Like, I got a red card for spitting on hockey sticks and handing them to people and stuff. Like, it was...
What?
Yeah, kind of weird. Not a Kaya self that I really would associate myself with. I got bullied. I bullied other people. Like, it was sort of still in the same friend group. Like, it was kind of really fucking weird. And then she left after a year, but still just, like, the dynamics were not it. But then also I was too scared to make other friends. yeah, so I kind of just like held my breath until primary school was over. And then I went to secondary school and I made a really nice friend on a bicycle because we would bike to school together for like half an hour and then always bike to school back together. So yeah, that was like perfect breeding ground for becoming besties.
And how was the friendship before that cousin came along? Like before it became weird and toxic?
What friends did I have before that? I think I just kind of played and hung out with people, but it was just like an in the school kind of thing. Like maybe sometimes I would go to people's houses and they would come to mine and we would play and it would be fun, but like I guess I did always enjoy. At some point I went to handball practice, like as a sport, and I did always enjoy being there, like even though those people weren't necessarily the people I would come to with all my worries. I think I just really enjoyed like doing activities with people and just being goofy. Yeah. Are you next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think like definitely looking back at elementary school, it was complicated times. I think for everyone, like a lot of insecurities that maybe are prompted from thin air sometimes, or like wanting to belong, and sometimes feeling that to belong you have to disclude other people because that's like how you make a group.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking more like back in like to friendships that I had early in elementary school, so like first, second, third grade, which were really wholesome. I feel like I had two best friends, and we're like a trio. Like we were really close, and we would do like a bunch of like really fun stuff, like play like imaginary things and like I don't know, like make secret handshakes and like just hang out. And like one time me and my friend just full on created a newspaper about different types of pasta. Like just like really whack things that you just like do together, and it's fun, and like you get to know the parents and all of that. So I think like my favorite thing about friendships back then was the playfulness of it, and like how like that would be like a really prominent part of the friendship, just like to be weird together, like do funky things together, create, play, like play. I think that that was really really fun, and I really like that. Yeah.
You know, honestly, now that you mention this, I don't think my friends were in school. Like, I was really close with my sister, my 2-year younger sister, and my cousin, because we would go to his house every week on like Tuesdays, and we would play like all these games. We would wear my aunt's heels and like pretend like we were flight attendants, and you know, we always hung out. I mean, that was like, I guess, a playful friendship. And then also my neighbors, because we lived in like a suburb that had a bunch of kids my age or like slightly older. And so like when I was little, I wrote a book with my with the neighbor across the street, and
that is so cool.
we would play Winx and like stuff like that. Or
we would also play
like
Winx.
the what's it called, the ripstick, learning how to play like learning how to ride that. So I guess most of my friendships were outside of school, and like the friendships that I felt like I enjoyed the friendship.
Yeah, definitely. I think also I also remember now that we were like in a building, like we lived in a building, and like all of the kids of the building would have like a secret hangout spot like in the backyard. It was so cute. Like we would like find things like drag like sofas from the street, and like we really made ourselves like a little spot, and like we would play and like hang out, and it was super fun. And I think like maybe that's also like if we're talking about phases of friendship, then maybe like yeah, like maybe the first step is like out of game, like a friendship that you play in and that you like be yourself, like spend your time but together, like playing, because that's what you like. You wouldn't sit alone and study when you were that young, or like do a bunch of things that later on like became things that you kind of do alone. Like you played, and playing is fun with more people. And I think maybe the next step, which is maybe like also why that was the first association you had, is when peers become your friends. Maybe like in the beginning there is a difference between peers and friends. Like maybe there is some parallel, but not necessarily. And then at some point, I think, especially like around middle school, like peers become your friends. Like this is the group you have now. Figure it out. Like
these are the fish.
Yeah, exactly. These are the fish in the puddle, and not even in the big sea. And then like you just like you need to deal with that.
Yeah.
Which is yeah. Do you think it's positive or negative, or like how did you experience that?
I mean, we didn't have middle school, so it went like we had 8 years of being in that sort of like. I never really. In school, I was always kind of a nerd, but like not to the extent that people would make fun of me for it, but just that I just didn't enjoy talking about the things that other people talked about. And then when I was 12, I moved to high school, which is like 6 years. So we didn't really have that awkward stage in between. Does that make sense? I feel like middle school is probably the awkwardest stage for a lot of people. But then moving into high school, into that group of, well, this is your puddle of fish, figure it out. I think I got so lucky. Like I biked to school with what in my head is one of the nicest people at the school, and I mean there was just a bunch of fun people that now I enjoyed talking to, and like maybe not so much hanging out with. Like I was very much like no, I'm going home. Like it was just never really on my radar to do anything after school. I would just go home. And so I never really invested much into my friendships outside of school. Like it was just kind of like, well, I mean, we see each other in school. Why bother?
No, same.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that transition, just because it went from not really enjoying talking to the people in elementary school to all of a sudden now there's kids with my type of thinking that I've just never been surrounded by so many smart kids.
Did you go to the same high school as like most of your elementary people went to?
Not at all. Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Wild.
No, there was like 2 kids from my elementary school that went to the same high school, but they were in different classes. And I never talked to them. So yeah, and that was honestly something I was looking for. Like so many kids were like, "What school are you going to? I'm joining you!" And I was like, "No, thank you."
Because there were a lot of different schools you could choose from.
Yeah, so many. And I went to one that was pretty far compared to the other ones. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes.
So now maybe we can look at like...
Wait, no, how was your going into middle school?
It was really nice. I think like right there in the beginning, I was like, let me latch on to someone to have friends, and I ended up not speaking to that person for the rest of high school. Like middle school and high school, for me it was also the same.
Yeah.
Which was fine. Like I think it was kind of nice to be able to like find my people slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And I think in like middle school and high school, I also had, like mostly high school, like still had like a best friend that it was like basically a monogamous relationship, like with the fighting, with the everything. Like it was at some point pretty toxic. But I think friendships in high school for me were like, if before it was like play based, like game playfulness, now it was gossip.
Oh.
Now it was drama and gossip. Like that was what kept us together. That was what we talked about. Yeah, which I think it's like such a shift in the phase, and it makes sense because like this is how you navigate
social
like
life.
being a human in a society, especially that it's like such a close society, like a puddle. But yeah, I think in a lot of senses playfulness was kind of lost, which is something that I am sad for. Like I really enjoyed. Yeah. How was high school friends for you? Like also in
I'm just curious also, like, because sometimes it happens that people move into secondary school still wanting to have that playfulness, but then they continue having it, like they're just, I don't know, so careless, or so for some reason they manage to.
Yeah.
What do you think kept you from keeping it, or were you just not aware that you wanted it?
Well, no, like I only talked about the beginning of my elementary school. At the end of my elementary school, like it was very much like people were already beginning to be couples, and like there was I had my first boyfriend when I was like 10. It was very awkward. But and like there was definitely like I was also bullied like for a while, and also like, and it might sound like being a martyr, but like when other people were like, I don't know how to say it in English, like when a group of people saying like, oh, we're not talking to that person, I was still speaking to these people, and it was not reciprocated to me, and that made me pretty sad. And I think that's why when I came into middle school, I was very much like, I want to be popular, like not popular, but like I want to be accepted, I want to belong, I don't want to like become that. And it did lead me to like one being like making friends with all, like we were like 3 girls that were like more popular, and like making friends with other people like in the class, like in the year class, not only like in our home class, sorry, and like all that stuff. And also, which I'm pretty ashamed of now, like still kind of bullying some other girl that I disliked for a reason, but like also it was not cool, like it was most of our class like against her. Yeah, so I think like once it starts to be about survival because you were deprived of safety when you were in former stages, and then you're like, oh, I have to play the game or I'll be smooshed, then it can bring some nasty behaviors. But friendships were still really cute, like no, like the friendships that were not toxic, like we would meet up and like watch movies, like do sleepovers, and like I had a friend that like didn't like went to my school for the first year and then quit, so I like, but I still was friends with her. So like I would read like I've never read or seen Harry Potter before at that point. So she was like, okay, like I will not watch the movies with you if you don't read the book. So I would like read a book and then go to her to see the movie, and then like we'll play poker with her family. It was like really still like some playfulness and cuteness, but less as like boundaryless.
Cute.
And I think in general in our middle school there was no people that kept that playfulness.
Yeah.
Like everyone was like, no, we're adults now. We have couples and crushes and
Yeah. What were you gonna ask earlier?
How was it maybe different for you from your high school or like the former high school and like the relationships you had in UWC? Which is like a high school that you chose that was a bit different in structure also, right?
Yeah. Huh. Well, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm not so sure about like the selection of friends and like how I think I still very much like just let it happen. Like just the first person that I thought was cool, I would like hang out with a lot, and then they made sort of new friends, and so they automatically became my friends, and then that stuff. Let's see. But it was different in the sense that I all of a sudden spent all of my time with these people. Like, I would have dinner with them, I would have breakfast with them, I would have lunch with them, I would sleep with them. And so all of a sudden there was these like different types of friendship, the type of friendship that I would hang out with after class and play pool with, or the type of friendship that I would she was my roommate, or the type of friendship that was like we were from the same country, or the type of friendship that was like we always sit at the same table. And I think just because there was so much more exposure to the people, it allowed me to invest much more in the friendship, also because we didn't have our families with us, and so they became the substitutes for that. They became your stable, your home space, kind of. Yeah, and so it was kind of wild to me that friendships was something you can invest so much in, that it became as comfortable as family, almost. And how a lot of that also kind of goes automatically, like with my roommate, for example. Like the first year we weren't really friends, we just really liked having each other as roommates, but we didn't hang out at all. And then the year after that we weren't roommates anymore, but we became really close friends. And I don't know, I just think that the like amount of time I spent with them was so different that it really did shape the way I approach these friendships. And I'd never, like, there was this one friend that would ask me to come over for movies on Fridays, and I was like, I mean, unnecessary, but sure. And I would have fun, but like it would never pop into my head to be like, yeah, Friday afternoons should be spent with friends. You know, even though I really did enjoy it. Love you, Milu. But it would just never like pop up in my head that you could invest in friendships and build them. Like, for me, it just kind of always went automatically.
Yeah. I actually think now that you said it, something that I actually wanted to mention earlier, and I forgot, about like friendships that I had like in middle school and high school. I didn't have the most stable like home life at that point, so I actually really learned to rely on my friends and like consider my friends to be my family. Like at that point I cared more about my friends than my family. Like I felt more safe with them, like I knew they have my back always. And also I went to this program that was outside of school, which I think was so transformational for me in terms of like friendships, because before it was like, again, like only like, okay, these are the prospects, like this is what there is. And then like taking that step of going out of like these only the like structures that I know, like okay, you go to elementary school and then you go to high school and like so on and so forth, like doing that extracurricular, um, really opened my eyes to the possibility, like that there are possibilities outside of what we just see in front of us. And also in friendship, like it was a summer, it started as a summer camp, like pretty intense summer camp with people like from all over Israel. So I was very much in a bubble in Tel Aviv, and then like all over Israel, like people came, and some of my best friends are from there. Like that really shaped who I am, and I think that is also really, I don't know, it was also really influential for me that I was able to meet people outside of like my known, which maybe is kind of like similar to UWC in a way.
Yeah. Cool. That is interesting that you like seeked for support elsewhere. Like I feel like because I had a younger sister who was basically my best friend and I always felt safe in my home. I didn't really feel the need to look for anything else. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Should we move on
then,
to
moving into current friendships. How do you feel? Did you learn from any of the ways that you made friends in the past, making friends here? Or did you just also kind of roll with it?
Well, I do think that my experience or like reference point is a bit different because I was outside of high school for quite a while before coming to Minerva. Like, I've been in so many different constellations of social groups. Like, after high school, I lived for a year with 10 other 18-year-olds in one house working together for 12 hours a day. Then I was like in the army, which is also a very specific constellation of making friends. Then I was the only 19-year-old in a actual like place of work that I volunteered in, but they like actually worked there. So most of my friends were like 10 years older than me. Then, you know, like a bunch of different constellations that I think I learned a lot from in general. But it's kind of funny because still the friends that are like, maybe that's not completely accurate, but I would say that the friends are the closest to me. Like I have a lot of close friends from other structures, but the friends that are the closest to me are still from high school. And I think that has to do with like a lot of common experience, and also, yeah, like this time after high school that we were still friends, but we had the space to be a lot more intentional with our friendship, because like if you don't keep in touch, then you don't keep in touch. So it really takes from you. Like most of my core memories with these people are after high school. Yeah, and I think that also made sense because they were like more close to my home. So when I went home, I was near them, but it's not necessarily true for other things that I did in the desert. Like I don't go there every other week, you know. But I think that these friendships are really like, yeah, just like home. Like I go and I spend time with these people and I feel completely at ease. Like I don't need any performance. Like I can immediately be there. I can be at my worst or at my best and I would be like completely safe and loved. And that is something that I super fucking appreciate in friendships. And I think I took a lot from that to, in general, like my life. So making friends before Minerva and also at Minerva, especially the point of like, I want my friends to be my biggest fans and I am their biggest fan. and this is the dynamics I need. I don't need a critique. Like, I have myself, I have other people from my friends. I do not need criticism. I need only support. And that is how I try to live life here as well. But something that is different that I kind of learned at Minerva, because these friendships were often like we meet up, basically. Like, we don't live together, we meet and we spend time, and we have like usually a conversation, and like a deep conversation. That was really my anchor in relationships. Like, I would assume that meeting with friends includes like deep talk, and like that is what I would consider as like a successful get together.
On a scale from 1 to deep,
exactly.
How successful was your meetup?
Or like, yeah, but like that, yes, basically. And I think at Minerva I really learned that, like, that at first I was really disappointed because I didn't feel like I had that so much here. This common sense of like, yeah, like being able to like really go deep. And then I really like was exposed to the beauty of just like spending time together, like physically being together, doing fun things together, like how important that can be, and like how close it can get you to other people. And just like, yeah, it's almost like having like life partners in a more casual way. Like, it's not like there are like big, like intense, like heaps of something, but it's just like generally like being together and having good time together. And like for example, like the Minervan trip that we went to on a caravan, like it was super wholesome. It was very cute. Like, we cooked together, we swam together, like we did really nice things together, and I felt much closer to people afterwards. But it's not like we had all the deep conversations into the night and all that stuff, which I think is definitely how I was used to making friends, like also in high school and after high school. So it was really nice to be exposed to that. I still miss the deep conversations, but I feel like, yeah, like I think also it is very valid that not for everyone it comes as like straight away. Like, I can go very deep. So like the more I develop friendships with people, I feel like we're getting there, which is also nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
That's just who I am.
It's such a shame I have the face filter today because I'm so beautiful today. Like, every night once they're like, oh my gosh, look at that fucking miraculous thing.
Every once in a while you give them a little sneak peek to what it could be like to be in this room, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Yeah.
What about you?
Right, so my initial question was like, what it was like going into Minerva and making new friends?
And like, if you took things from your past ways of making friends, or like of friendship, or like what's different? What's different? What's similar?
I think I wanted to be a bit more intentional about making these friends. Yeah, because I did have a friend in high school that just wasn't quite the vibe. And so I wanted to make sure that I would keep myself from that, kind of. And so when one of our close friends, Alice, said she was high maintenance, I was like, no! Bye! So I guess in that sense, I was just trying to sort of protect myself from relationships where people would be leaning too much on me, and I would not feel like I was enjoying the friendship. So it would just be like a burden, which, yeah, that's just something I wanted to protect myself from, honestly. Other than that, I don't think there was really much intentionality behind it. It was just like, anyone, please. Yeah, and I think I got very lucky that Elena was like, hey, I recognize you, and I think you would be a fun friend. Let's go for a walk. And like, that just really lifted up them spirits. And then, yeah, I mean, that just kind of naturally led me to all the other friends that I have now. Am I being more intentional about investing in my friendships? Is something that I think I should be better at now. But now I'm just wondering if I am actually better at that.
Well, Alice is high maintenance, and you are maintaining, girl. That's
no,
one
it's
thing.
a different kind, I guess.
Well, obviously. But what I mean to say is that it does seem like you're pretty intentional about your friendship with Alice, at least.
Yeah. Although I don't think I'm that intentional about spending time with people. I think I just kind of let it happen. And so it's also easy for me. I'm kind of like an out of sight, out of mind kind of person.
Yeah. Not about you.
You also?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was not like, yes, Caya, you are.
Yeah.
I
Rude. Did not respond to any of my messages over the summer.
Did you not? Did I message you?
No, I don't think so. So that's good.
Yeah.
That was a fist bump to losing our friendship in 3 years.
No.
Yeah. So I'm not that intentional about maintaining my friendships still. Like, I just kind of let them happen, and if they don't, then maybe one day. Yeah, could be defense mechanism for if you don't invest in them, you can't be disappointed.
Blamed for losing them, or
you can't be disappointed in losing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy things as they are now. I do think I would want to be more intentional about maintaining my friendships with people that are not with me. As much as out of sight, out of mind is a pretty good heuristic, it's not ideal all the time, and I do feel like it would be nicer to, from time to time catch up with people so that you I still feel like I can just call my old friends and be like, hey, let's hang out, and we could if they're abroad, I could stay with I can count on them wanting me to be there. But maintaining the friendship, I think, at a distance is also still nice.
And I just want to say about this thing of just not really being too intentional about dedicating time to spending with people. That I understand why it might have a negative connotation, but actually for me, having a very intentional way of friendship before, I really enjoy this actually, because then I can just know kind of that I can land on something, that things will kind of happen anyways, and that I don't know, I don't have to put effort, which sounds bad, but also in a lot of ways it's really good.
But,
to just feel like natural.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm not doing anything extra, or it's not taking energies from me
Yeah.
to be with my friends. Which sometimes obviously it can also like bring a lot of energies when it's intentional, but then it still is out of a place of like give and take. And this is just kind of like living life, but when being with people that you love and stuff like that, which I do appreciate a lot. And I think also the yeah, forgot, but that it's also like really nice. Oh, in a few ways. Like one, it's really nice because you know that you can just like go knock on someone's door and like be there, especially like certain people like Julia, Dominic, and Addis' room, or like Salo's room. Like they're always open for you. But also, you don't have to be insulted when people do things without you.
Yeah.
Because like it's just like flowing. It's not like they made a plan and they didn't think about it. They just literally were like,
let's go.
Yeah. So I think that's really nice. Like also like I think that was something that definitely had it was a burden for me. Also last year at Minerva, and this year I'm like allowing myself like to realize that it's actually not a thing.
Yeah.
Which is really nice, especially for like people pleasers. That's yeah. You're a people pleaser?
I don't know.
I don't think you are.
No, but it was just as I was doing it, I was like, wow, that's me signaling I'm a people pleaser, but it just sounded like you were as a people pleaser.
No, but I do not think you're a people pleaser, and I really appreciate that about you. Okay. I have to say. Can we reflect on one moment of friendship?
Okay.
Between us. So you're like bombarded. So when you did not do the assignment on time, it was just a few minutes before submitting, and yes, and I wanted to go out with Unju, and then Julia texted me and I came, and I was a bit annoyed at first, but then like after we submitted it, you were just like acknowledging my feelings and being like, I appreciate it, like I'm sorry, but I appreciate it, but it didn't feel like you were taking it on yourself, so I also didn't feel guilty for you feeling guilty. And like just a hug, and it just resolved everything, and it was like magic for me. I was like, whoa, is this a possibility? Like what? You can just, because like at the end of the day, it's really not like most of these things or like things in general are not about the actual thing. It's about if someone considered your feelings or didn't, or like and it was just like really simple, like acknowledgement and hug, and it was like all Gucci gang. So much appreciated.
I appreciate you appreciate it. I don't really know what to say about that.
I think it's a sign of secure attachment style.
Probably. Yeah, I don't think you'll hate me for this. You hated me probably in the moment, but I didn't.
No, I didn't hate you
okay.
either. I was just like a bit annoyed.
Yeah.
Which is also nice, because then you feel like you can be annoyed. You don't have to suppress that feeling, and like suppressing any feelings can create distance. So it's also kind of nice.
Yeah. Wow, look at us go. Oh, that can be the thumbnail.
Yeah. I love it. Friendships.
Yeah, where were we at?
We were, yes.
You made a leeway into something that I wanted. Right. About, like, enjoying the sort of thing where you can now just hang out with your friends, and it's, like, not that big of a deal, and, like, it kind of flows naturally. Which also is very much embedded into our current stage of life. Like, the way we live with our people now allows for this kinds of friendship to happen. And I also agree that I really enjoy that sort of like natural flow of being able to walk into someone's room and they're there and you can just chat with them for a bit, or like just going with someone to do something fun. how do you think? Okay, that's just a little anecdote. Is this one time I was at a coffee shop with two friends of mine, and I was doing some work. They were chatting over there, and then while I was doing my work, I was like, "Let me take a break." So I went over there. It was at a coffee shop in Dogpatch, so like a pretty like businessy area. So there was a bunch of like business people doing their work at the coffee shop, and I walk over there, and I just sat down on their laps, and I was like, 5 minutes into our conversation, I was like, wait a damn minute. This must look so fucking weird to everyone here. Like, imagine being in an office and your friends are just hanging out in the like office corner and you sit down on their laps. Like, that'd be so wild. And that just hit me in that moment, and I was like, I'm never gonna. Maybe. If I follow, like, if I go into an office and that's where I'm gonna source my friends, I'm never gonna have this type of intimacy where you can literally just be in someone's aura and they won't mind it. I'll never have that again. Which was wild to me. And, like, how do you see yourself managing going into different... I mean, you worked in an office and made friends there.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself, like, moving into next stages in life and still being able to find friendships that you feel fulfilled by?
Well, first of all, and continuing this anecdote, was I there, and was it the time that we came up with the tech bromance
No.
thing?
That was
No?
another time.
Okay. Because that, yes. It's a big question, and I think it's also a question of that is much wider than that. It's a question of what is important to you in your life and how are you willing to act in accordance to it. Like, I know that for me, I, like, so far in my work, I worked, and that was my professional side. I did not necessarily, but also I worked with, like, people that are twice my age, so it's different. That was, like, my professional side. I was happy to make connections, but I did not expect to make friendships necessarily. And I prioritize having, like, in my life, like, communities that I belong to, like activist communities or stuff like that. That is where I found my community, and that is absolutely this vibe.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that could be in which job you choose. Like, if, I don't know, if you work, like, in an underground TV set, like, who says it cannot be this way, you know? Like, I think there are fewer places that, like, inherently you cannot do that than places then you could potentially, like, develop this type of work culture. I mean, as long as there are boundaries and it's consensual, like, why not?
What's up, Jared? Did you get to printing that thing?
But yes, and also, like, maybe, like, making sure that we have space in our life for friendships, like, regardless of that. I heard from a lot of friends and, like, people in general that, like, yeah, like, after high school and, like, college, when you start just, like, working, then it's really hard to maintain friendships and, like, close friendships, because, like, you're just a person in a place, and everyone is a person. It's not like you have necessarily something that brings you together, that you both belong to, that will make a friendship at least partially like how do you say it, like neutral, like
level?
No. Default.
Yes.
That makes a friendship at least partially default, and then, like, it's
As
much
it would
harder.
Be in schools, you mean?
Yeah. Like, you meet for coffee to catch up, and, like, that's the friendship, not, like, spending, like, life together, like, time together, like what we're doing often. And I think that's what brought me to my conclusion that I want to live in a community when I grow up. Like, that is a priority of mine. Like, I want to be able to go next door and knock on my friend's door and like
and then just sit there
and like just have coffee or just like eat their food or I don't know, like things like that. I think that's super important for me, and I've lived in a country that showed me that that is definitely a possibility. There are quite a lot of communities that like are grown up and like even have children or like grown up couples that live as a community, sometimes in cities, sometimes out of cities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that is something that I know I would like, and I know that it might come in contradiction with what I would ideally want to do for work, but I think as long as you have this direction, then you can like compromise but like see how to kind of make it happen. So yeah, so anyways, what I mean to say is that I think there is a really good point in friendships that you live together are quite different. Like you are partners to life. Like you have like common goals and aspirations and like also like life. So it makes sense that it would be a different type of friendship. And I think that friendships that you don't live together can also be really beautiful and really fulfilling, and it's really up to you what would fulfill you. But because I think that it is inherent to living together, then I will prioritize that in my life.
Yeah.
Which I think it's counterintuitive for most people in the world nowadays, with this culture of like individualism and like careerism, like prioritizing career or even romantic partners. But it's not often that people like prioritize friendships.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to also, like, if there's this thing laid out, like, especially the romantic partner thing, like, that can, I don't know, maybe that's just from my perspective of someone who's on your side, but it seems like it's also kind of filling a void, like, you feel the need to, like, spend time and life with someone, and so you pick this one person who's also dedicated to spending time and life with you, and you just move forward, where, at least in my perspective, it could also be so much broader than that, and you could have so much larger support system in that. Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, like a good example for me is like my parents are divorced, and my mom has a wife and my dad has a wife, and my dad and his wife, like they lost touch with most of their friends, like they mostly with one another. And my mom and her wife, they're very much with one another, and they also have a lot of outside friends, like mostly other lesbian couples. And I think that is super important because, like you said, like one person cannot fulfill all of your needs and all of the things you desire, especially like, for example, complaining about your partner. So I think it's really important to have that, and I really see. And maybe that's also a good example that even though they don't live in a community, they're still very much in touch with their friends and like, have a lot of dinners together and like call often and like have like this notion of like, oh, I haven't called her in a while, I need to call her, like this almost like committed friendship type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Do they have friends together with other friends, or
yeah, mostly,
yeah,
like mostly, and then like there would be like my mom is like closer with these people, and Osnat is closer with those people, so they might meet with them one-on-one, but my mom will not, and the other way around. But they would have like dinners all together also. That's which I always used to be in, and that was like really fun because I just get like all the compliments and like people are interested in my life, and then they start talking about their interests, and I'm like, can I have cake and leave? No, but they're really cute people. Like I really love them, and like it's also super nice as a child to see your friends having friends that are kind of like your aunts outside of your actual family, especially that my mom is not very close to her like siblings, or some of them. So
yeah. Cute.
so I think that's how I would wish my friendships to be. And one other thing that I'm not completely sure that I see as necessary, but I think it might go there, is like doing things together. Not only sitting and talking, but like actually doing things together. I think that is also a really cool thing to have in friendship.
Like going somewhere or just sitting there making penguins?
Either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, as a penguin maker.
I'm a penguin and a penguin maker.
Yeah, you actually do look kind of like a penguin today.
Is there anything that you like that hasn't been mentioned that you want in your future friendships?
No, I think I am completely on the same page as you.
6 West.
Maybe one last question. How would you cope with your friends' deaths?
I don't know. Like I'm
It's
20.
Wild to me that old people have to deal with. But maybe that's a completely different topic and too large to grasp.
Yeah.
But like, how do old people do it? Like, it cannot be.
Have you seen Grace and Frankie?
No. Oh, is it with
the 2 old ladies?
No, I thought it was the bunny and the fox. Are they also called Frankie? No.
I don't know what you're
Whatever.
referring to. Anyways, it's a show about 2 old ladies that both of their husbands divorced them because they're gay together. And then they like, anyways, they start being roommates, and they like really super different personalities, but they're old both. And a lot of the things about this show is about how their friends are dying. So it might be interesting to look at and make that sense.
Grace and Frankie, people. Grace and Frankie.
But maybe more in general about like friendships when you're really, really old. I think that's another thing of like, you don't know when your partner will die. You don't know if you'll stay with him. Like, I see a lot of people, like I've gotten somehow to know quite a few old ladies that are single, that have always been single. And their friendships are really what sustains them. But also like, even I think it could even be more like that sense of like, I think often, and it's not out of them, it's out of the other people, but like often when someone gets married, like they get more distant with their friends. So even like having a little friend contract, like, hey, we're gonna stick together, like that could be also a cute thing to do, like in old age, like, to have in old age. Like going all together to like Florida or like the Bahamas, like buying a land and like being old farm ladies. Like that would be an awesome way to go, no?
I know. Also, one thing I really am manifesting in my future life is card games. I want people to play card games with me when I'm old.
I love card games. We should play more card games.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think we talked a lot, period, and a lot about friendship and like how it is manifested in our lives or how we wish to manifest it. I also want to say maybe before we end that like obviously friendships look very different for different people, and we're not talking about how we're experiencing it as the neutral, just as how we're experiencing it. And maybe even like, maybe one last question I have is like, if let's say in your life right now you're not happy with the way that your friendships are, like you would like them to be like more partnery or like have more connection, and you feel like maybe it's a bit superficial right now, like how can you work towards that?
Ooh, I don't think I've ever really had a conversation with a friend about the friendship and like that I want more out of it. Like I just don't for me, it feels like that's not a premise of friendship.
Yeah.
It's not a premise of friendship to ask someone to be more for you, because it's just the way it is. And
Yeah.
maybe that's um, self-destructive and delusional. Like, you really probably can talk to someone and they might just not realize that that is something you need. So I don't know, honestly. I've never really thought about that because it's not something that I think is in the realm of possibilities of friendship. But maybe I'm close-minded. What do you think?
I agree that like I wouldn't go to a friend unless like it is already there, and like, hey, I need to talk about the relationship. Like I don't necessarily think that's the vibe, but I do think that we might be surprised, even with friends that are more like superficial or like you don't talk about feelings or like support each other emotionally often.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think people would be surprised like if they do come with like something like, hey, I want to like air something within myself, would you be willing to like talk for a while or something like that, or just like kind of like modeling how you would want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like bringing more vulnerability into the friendship, or like suggesting to do that or that, or like something you want to do. I think that's maybe like more of an effective way to influence a friendship, because I think often like maybe people kind of like all of them want that but no one says it.
Mm-hmm.
So like just starting it, and like if it's a positive thing and like something that will bring people closer, like it would probably be accepted with love and like appreciation.
Yeah.
Even if it does seem at first like it's awkward, like maybe in a while. So maybe like having that, and also like having endurance, like not interpreting like how people perceive it as rejection, but rather as like maybe they're not used to it.
Yeah. I do have this friend that I would go on Fridays movies with, and I feel like even though it wasn't something that I thought would need to be part of a friendship, just because she was like, no, I think it will be fun, I just went along with it because I am down for fun things, and it like reshaped the way I think about friendships in a way. And it took a hot second. Like, it was not when that was happening, it was long after that I realized that she was doing something that was different from the way I perceived friendships to be. And so, I mean, she might have been able to speed up that process if we talked about what friendship means. But it also just took a really long time for me to realize that the way she invests in friendships is different from the way I do so.
Yeah. But I also think that I mean I do want to acknowledge that it might be a good point what you said about like talking about the relationship, because people, especially people like our age, like younger people, might also older people might have a fear of commitment, and that's why they're not engaging in romantic relationships. But like friendship is pretty neutral, and I think like bringing up like this also like a part of the fear of commitment is like this thing of like being seen or like feeling like I'm not enough because someone needs something else from me or something like that. So I mean, what I mean to say is that I don't want to just encourage people to do something that might not actually work or like be harmful for the friendship. Also, do you actually think that if at that time she would talk about friendship, it would like you would accept it like openly and like happily? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe more about friendship in general, like just not specifically about that friendship, but just like what friendship means to us. Like, I just never really thought about it. I just kind of rolled with it. And if maybe we talked about it just in general, like what does a friendship mean to you?
Like to set expectations more.
Yeah.
But doesn't it kind of make it stagnated? Like, oh, for me it's like that, for you it's like that, so.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe, but also maybe there's like leeways and like.
Oh, that sounds fun. Like that's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Could be. Or honestly, like I don't think it hurts to reach out to different people. Like as much as that is also scary and it's not something I would have done or something that I necessarily would do anytime soon, if
Yeah.
it's scary to try to make new friends, especially in a like community where friends are already kind of set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think it would probably be worth it in the end if you do find people that you feel fulfilled by.
No, yeah, I think that's super true, and that's definitely also something that after high school happened to me, that I like, and not necessarily that I also made new friends, but I also shed the people that I felt like were not good for me,
Mm-hmm.
or like that their friendships didn't support me, or like their way that they were in relation to me. So I think that's also definitely something to put our finger on. Like, if you're not happy in a relationship, if you feel like something is hurting you constantly and that you are not able to like get out of that, then like it's also super fair to like goodbye. So yeah, that's also important too. And
Fun times.
And in that say, Kaya, I think we need to.
Yeah. That being said,
No,
what?
I was like, oh, we need to talk. Like,
I thought you were gonna say. That being said, that wraps up today's episode.
yeah. Also it does. Yeah. Also, hug your friends.
Give them head scratches.
Yeah, like hugs are literally so good for our mental health. Like, people that don't hug their friends, I'm like shocked. Like, when I left San Francisco, we should really finish now, but
Yeah.
just last anecdote. When I left San Francisco and like I left my boyfriend, and I was really worried for him that he will not get enough physical touch. Really, because like it's true, like people, especially men, don't really hug so much in friendships, and then like that's like a partner is really important in that because they give that, but also like find that in friends. Like, don't be sad for a really long time until you find a new girlfriend. Like, that does not make sense. Just doesn't.
Yeah.
Also, don't find a new girlfriend, please. Okay. Should we do our concluding remarks? Okay. Followers